Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name's Benjamin. I'm the co-founder and host of Model Talk. Today, I'm joined by...
Gigi Hari.
Thank you so much for giving us your time and your resource, because I really, really appreciate it. We were just talking off camera before, and I think you're probably one of the hottest faces right now. No. I'm not like just trying to give you your flowers, but I really see your profile like everywhere, like really, really, really everywhere. Like most of the cool creatives now, like I see you all the time. So
That's good to know.
yeah. So like maybe you can just give like a brief introduction, like where you're from originally, something like this.
I'm originally from like the countryside in the UK, like
Okay.
northwest, but then I went to Manchester for university and then was there 7 years and then moved to London for 5 years and then came here 1 year ago.
So how did you find yourself in Korea, coming all the way from the UK?
Very long story actually. So when I was like in early high school, my friend was like super into anime, and then somehow like from watching anime openings ended up coming across like really old Big Bang, like around the time it was like releasing, and then she showed me, and then I think it was when GD debuted, I saw him and was just like, what
I
is
have
this?
to go there.
I was like, what is this interesting specimen of a man? Yeah, like what's happening here? So then I just kind of started deep diving and then got a really big interest. I was supposed to come maybe 10 years ago because I got offered like an English teaching job.
Okay.
Very glad I didn't do that because I wouldn't be able to do it. But yeah, and then like because of like medical reasons and stuff, I couldn't come. And then just working, and then I had a global agency in Europe for like I think 2 years.
Nice.
Left them, took some time away, and then was like, kind of want to try something new. And then was just
So
okay,
Korea
I'll come
was
to
like
Korea.
the intro into like Asian fashion market. Okay. So where, like, how long were you modeling or like within fashion when you were back in the UK, like prior to coming to Korea?
I think 6 or 7 years.
Wow. Okay.
Is it? Wait, how old am I? Yeah, 7 years.
Wow. Okay. Prior to Korea.
Oh no, 6 prior to Korea.
Okay. So you're almost like pushing like close to a decade of being in fashion.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. So how did you start? Like, were you scouted, or were you like, oh, like I just love the fashion industry and clothing and?
It was so when I was in university, like I studied fashion design, and then I like always, because like I'm just naturally like tall and thin, all my classmates would constantly be using me as like a model. And I was like, okay, actually I kind of enjoy like this whole like process of getting dressed up and like feeling like a new kind of character or something. And then I think it was maybe 1 year after I graduated. Do you know who Matty Bovin is? It's okay. He's like a youngish, was like young designer at the time, like kind of coming up in London, and he was doing like just casting through Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So I just like randomly like messaged him because we was like Facebook friends, you know,
Cool.
how it used to be. Everyone knew everyone.
MSN days.
Yeah,
or something
not
like
quite that far back, but yeah. So I just messaged him, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, like I'd love to have you." And it was like I think a collab for Barbie's 58th birthday. So like technically my first job was for Barbie, which is quite camp. Yeah,
That's really cool.
and then I think I was freelancing for maybe like a year and a half, 2 years. But after I worked with him, like all of the creatives in London suddenly like noticed who I was, and I wasn't living in London either. So I would get like the coach from Manchester to London like overnight if I had like an early shoot, because the train in the UK is so expensive.
Oh, really?
So I'd be getting like 7-hour coach from Manchester to London, like through the middle of the night, and then work in the daytime in London, then just go straight back.
Wow. Because
Yeah.
like I think like people, I mean, it's interesting to hear that, because I think a lot of people have like this misconstrued idea of like, oh, I got booked in another city or something. Like they're flying me first class. Modeling life is so glamorous all the time, and that's really not the reality.
Yeah, unless it's like one of the like big like old school fashion houses,
Yeah.
you're dealing with all of that yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was like your first job, like actually, like when like you got in front of the camera and they started taking photos? Like,
In what sense?
I think in the sense that like it's a very unique experience. Like in the setting that everybody takes photos of each other or you take group pictures, but when you're in the setting of like, okay, I need to take really good photos,
Like switch on.
that like this designer or artist or whoever it is like can make use out of this content. Like, do you feel like some pressure the first time you're in front of the camera, or was it just natural?
I think it was like a natural progression, but like slowly. Like I never felt completely alien in front of the camera, but yeah, I don't think there was one specific job I had where it was something like, okay, yeah, this is it. Like I could just feel my understanding of trying to see the other's perspective without a mirror. Like I took a little bit of time for that, but otherwise it felt like quite natural.
What about runway?
I think that was the main thing that felt like
Runway?
Oh, yeah, that was the
Oh,
thing
really?
where I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is like really real because you have to like completely black out everything. I think maybe my first runway show was for Matty Boven as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow, runway first job is a lot.
Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah, that was my first job too, and it was like I didn't know there was rehearsal, like this and that. So there's like, oh, why don't you have your makeup? Go get your makeup done. And I'm like, what? Is there like a designer that you really want to walk for?
Oh, there's too many.
But there's always like a top.
The top.
Yeah.
I think obviously everyone's obsessed with like Galliano's Margiela, but I feel like wherever Galliano goes to, I would just want to do one of his shows regardless, because he's kind of like shaped the fashion industry like show-wise for like decades now. And then also, I'm so sad that Jeremy Scott left Moschino. Like Moschino's so campy and so many people hate it and think it's cheesy, but like I live for the drama and like just like the silliness of it. I don't like when fashion is too serious. Like I like to play around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really sad that Jeremy Scott left Moschino, and I'm kind of waiting to see what he does next. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about like your experience of working in London versus Asia, because I think a lot of models that are based in Korea are coming to Korea for modeling. They may start their career here, like through an academy or freelancing or finding a local agency, but modeling in Europe is really, really different. And I don't think a lot of people get that opportunity maybe.
Yeah.
So like, what's like the number one thing, like right off the top of your head, that you think is the most different in terms of like a client interaction or a casting or?
I think it might, from my experience, it might also just be like culturally and like language barrier wise, but I feel like in general, like being a model is never really about being pretty or like beautiful. It's like making those connections and like showing your personality, even if it's not like screaming in your face, just like making your presence like known. And I think one of the key things for me in London, like especially at first, because I was freelancing for quite a long time, was just networking. And like once you get in that circle, like I think you obviously know, like it's quite like tight. And the people outside don't know what's going on inside, but once you get in there, it's kind of like you can speak to this person, this person, this person, and then like they'll work you into something, even if the team originally didn't necessarily think about you or like haven't heard of you. Yeah, and
But you don't find like that same kind of thing exists here?
I think it does, but I haven't been able to tap into it that much because my Korean skills aren't very good.
It's okay, mine either.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of a question and now I forgot it. Dang, it was really good. Sorry, it was like right on the front of my
It's
head.
okay, go backwards.
Okay. So for modeling in Europe and Asia, obviously there's a lot of different standard requirements and things like this. Like for people that are maybe starting their career or developing their career throughout Asia, because there's a lot of volume and they can get book materials very quickly as opposed to maybe London, Paris, Milan, anywhere.
Yeah.
What's their, like, in your opinion, step to getting into those major markets? Like, how do I go from Korea into Paris, or how do I get from Korea to Milan?
I also feel like I don't know that well because I'm trying to deal with that at like currently, because like my old agency in Europe was like global management. So then when I decided to leave them and then I came to Korea, I've met my current agency here now. All of the agencies that come to Korea, like kind of looking for models or like new signs or something, they're looking for Korean models because they can find a European model in Europe and they don't have to deal with like all the extra nonsense. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe trying to do more personal works in Korea and finding people who have a really strong, like more like fashion vision. Because I think here, like
to develop their book, right?
Yeah, because I think in Korea everything is really like super commercialized.
Very,
Like even the like more like chic, like kind of like high fashion-ish brands, still like they use quite commercial looking models, or like the vibe is not like fully like, I don't know how to describe it, but like the vibe is like slightly different. So like finding the people that have that like super like chic, like clean vision of like high fashion images. I don't know how to describe. I'm like a visual person, so words is like hard to put it together.
Boom. Like I see his images and I'm just like, wow, they're so amazing.
Yeah.
But like I think it's also really hard to find those kind of photographers in Asia because a lot of them are focusing on where the money is, right? Which is commercial modeling, like lookbook, e-commerce, print kind of stuff. So like I think it's, maybe as you mentioned, like if you find someone, then you really got to figure out a way to make it work to get those materials, right? When was the last time you were back in London?
Right before I came. So like mid-March last year. Yeah. So
like, do you just go back for family, or like you're going back to try to develop your book some more and work?
I like haven't been back since I signed with my agency here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think it just seems a bit too expensive to go there without like an actual like reason. So I'm waiting till I get a new agency, at least in like Paris or Milan, and then I'll go back. But right now I feel super comfy in Korea. I don't feel a reason to go back to London yet. I'm not homesick. So yeah.
I had another model on that is also from the UK, and like it's a stupid question, but do you find you're losing your accent?
I've never had an accent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even growing up, everyone used to always say, like, you don't sound like the rest of us. Like, what's going on? I have, like, the weird transatlantic, like 1940s accent. Yeah. It's there a little bit. If I'm angry.
I feel like it's like 1%, right?
Yeah. If I'm angry, it's very there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very there. Because I'm, like, from the north, too, so it gets really harsh, but...
It's not... Like, I don't understand, because, like, I have some British friends that really describe, like, the area as, like, very identifiable by, like, how they speak, right?
Yeah, even, like, half an hour away on the train, and, like, you can't understand people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's your Korean? Like, is it conversational now?
Not really. I've got, like, quite good at listening, like, but depends on the situation. Like, work-wise, I can get along fine. And, like... basic conversation, I can kind of like follow what's going on, but I can't interject.
But like it sounds like your plan is to stay here for a while, right? So like, do you have any interest in like really learning the language and then doing like, I know there's a lot of models that do those like variety shows and things like this. Is like, that's something that you're interested in?
Yeah, it's kind of in my main plan for this year, but it's just I'm so bad at studying. I'm not a language person. I had to drop English in school also. So, yeah, it's just... It's difficult. And also, you know, every foreigner who comes to Korea, I feel like the first year is pure chaos.
In what way?
Like just living situation and like dealing with like all the like legal stuff and like deposits here are so expensive.
Yeah.
Like what is that all about? So I feel like my first 6 months was kind of just like all over the place. Was mainly focusing on like regularly working, and then now I'm regularly working and kind of feeling more settled. It's like now I feel like I can sit down and try and study, because if you have that stress in the back of your mind, like how can I afford to survive, or like where am I living next month, like you can't fully like focus on studying. It'll go in and then just go straight out.
How did you first find the agency you're working with now? Like, did they reach out to you when you were in the UK, or you reached out to them? Like,
So I think October 22, I decided, like, that was the first time I came to Korea. I decided to just kind of come for like a trip, just for like 1 month, see how things are. Because I already had quite a few friends out here from like meeting other models and stuff. And then somehow I ended up doing, it was either 5 or 6 shows during Seoul Fashion Week.
wow.
Like people just like found me.
During your like vacation trip?
Yeah, during my vacation.
Wow,
so-
that's cool.
But I shouldn't really have done that. And then
Edit it out.
Yeah. I didn't do anything.
No, you definitely had a visa at that time,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Okay.
But then there was one model I met backstage, like quite often. We had a lot of shows together, and then you know how usually like a manager will be like following models around. There was like a couple of them gave me their cards, and
Oh,
then
that's cool.
before I went back, like I think it was either like the day before I went back to London or like 2 days before, I just went and had like some meetings and was like testing to see who seems
Legit.
like not even legit, just like you can vibe with.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, the CEO of my agency was really nice. So I was told him, like, I'll get back to you when I'm in London. Went back to London, like, same week. I was like, yeah, okay, I want to sign. And then we did all the contract stuff and visa. Came back as soon as it was done in March.
Wow, that's quick. That's
Yeah.
crazy transition.
Yeah.
Like, came to Asia a month later. Now I'm stuck in Asia
Yeah,
and I
pretty
never want to leave.
Yeah. My personality type isn't like, I don't like to take risks or like kind of go out of my routine. So even when I decided to come here for that month, it was kind of like a crazy shift in my brain.
Okay.
Just like I don't know, just do something. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to book flight and go. Like I did it at like 2 a.m. in like a wild, like manic episode almost. So yeah, I feel like after I made that commitment to just come, it was kind of like something in me was very like, okay, any opportunity that comes, just say yes. Just keep going with it, because I felt so stagnant in London. So yeah.
But you feel like Asia is very quick, like fast paced, and like things are
Yeah.
happening like quite rapidly, right?
Yeah, and I think just like as a model in London, unless you're going to Europe like all the time, it's quite hard to survive like financially, because obviously like rent prices in central London are crazy, and then magazine editorials in Europe unpaid, so there's that. And then because I'm not really like a very commercial model, it was like hard to do like many like money jobs basically. So I would be relying on just Fashion Week and then like hoard that money and try and survive.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah, so then I kind of was just over it.
Yeah.
Like,
But do you like have like a job preference now? Like I've always been on like commercial. Like I've had a couple opportunities to do like cool runway, like DG, Fendi, and like some other really good shows. But now like I'm kind of out of it. But those are the jobs that I really like editorial, which often doesn't pay well, or runway, which is just because, you know, like, I don't know, maybe I'm being,
adrenaline.
but maybe I'm also being too vain that I think a lot of models are slightly narcissistic.
Oh, definitely.
So like, you know, just that moment of coming out of the entrance and it's just
all
like
eyes on me.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Like I love that moment. But now do you feel like those are the jobs that you still want to go after?
Oh, definitely. But it's not like, I feel like my ego kind of left the situation a while ago. So I'd love to go back to Europe and do like really big shows, but also like if it's not in the cards for me, it's not in the cards for me. Because since I've been here and like started to get really comfy, I'm almost questioning, is it worth trying to like break back into that market, or should I just keep building my profile here and like do what I can in this situation? But the kind of jobs that I like, I still love doing shows, and like editorial stuff. But I think also that's come from modeling so long, you kind of learn your lane, and it's never, it's nothing is ever personal. So it's like, if you don't fit the vibe, you don't fit the vibe. I'm not gonna get commercial jobs because no matter how much like soft pretty girl makeup you put on me, I'm not gonna look like that. So I think, I think like shows and editorial stuff and like campaigns, where there's more of like a concept. Because I think as well, definitely need to study Korean more, but I do want to kind of like graduate into acting eventually.
Cool.
Yeah, because you can't model forever, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing, right? Like, I love that you brought that up because people never talk about this, right? Like, I'm a true believer that, yeah, there's a market for everyone at any age. Like, there's senior modeling, there's lifestyle modeling, there's tons, right? Like, you can always find a job, but I really advocate for like the younger generations of models that you need to have some idea of like an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, like looks fade and you're not going to be the most beautiful or the most handsome looking guy forever. So it's like, okay, well, now where do I go with like this skill set or talent or network that I've developed, right?
Yeah.
Like it's becomes very limited, I think, in my opinion. So like it's cool to hear that like you have some like idea of like what my next steps are.
Yeah. I think also kind of just feels natural because of my approach to modeling. Because I think maybe it's a little bit unconventional, but I really don't care about like being like beautiful or attractive. I feel like the thing that really like pulled me in the most, like through like, and kept me going for this long, is I love like kind of becoming like a new character for the moment. Like I love like that being like a full fleshed out concept, and I'm like, who is this person? Like once I put the clothes on, it feels like my personality switches. Because like I was saying to you before, like I'm like super like introvert, but then as soon as that's there, it's like kind of me, but it's also like, I don't know, I'm just an arty person, so I have like 1,000 references in my head that I just want to pull from and like create this whole like fantasy. And it's feels very like method and like acting almost.
Okay.
So it feels really natural that I'm like, I don't know how I can get into acting, especially with my language skills not existing, but it just feels like the natural step. But I feel like most people should have something, especially if they're like creative. Like I know people who like have gone from modeling to like working in PR just because they like, you have to be good at PR as a model also. Of course. And just like finding those little skills, I think it's really important. Yeah.
So like, would your like future be like you want to stay and do acting in Asia, or you want to go back to like a more westernized culture? And because those two styles of acting
really
are
different.
very different, right?
True. I'm not sure. I think I want to try here first. I think actually it's maybe more difficult here because like, unless my Korean's perfect, which hopefully would be by the time I'm doing that, I think there's still not many foreigner roles in general.
Yeah.
And then trans foreigner roles, and then not someone who transitioned in a conventional way and is foreign and da-da-da-da-da-da. Like the pool is very limited, but I think I would want to try here first.
What about like other Asian markets? Like let's take maybe one step back from acting. Like it sounds like Korea was kind of like your first introduction into Asian fashion market, right? Like have you tried China or Japan, Southeast Asia?
Not yet.
Any interest?
I do want to try Japan. I feel like most people I know, like all the editorial work they do there is really, really good. Like I think if anyone wants to build a book quickly, go to Japan for 3 months. And I think the like Chinese market is like not market.
It's wild. It's a wild market.
Yeah, but like the Shanghai scene these days is really building. Like I'm friends with a few people who used to study at CSM that now are just like doing like crazy shows in Shanghai. And I would like to try. I'm just scared of not being able to use my phone properly. I'm like, I don't want to
yeah.
be trapped in a country where I'm completely censored. It like freaks me out a little bit.
You
I
just need
think
to
it's
buy a VPN.
true. Yeah, no sponsor. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I survived. You just find somebody on like WeChat that sells you a
Mm,
VPN router, and like
mm,
you meet them in an alley, and they're like, "Yo, here you go, bro."
mm. Yeah, but I do want to try. Just the opportunity's not come yet.
Mm. But like, if you had an opportunity to go there, like within like the next year or so, like,
Mm.
would you leap on it, or do you feel
Oh,
like you want
definitely.
to more so
Yeah.
than staying kind of grounded and building up here in Korea?
I think I would probably try to, I guess, can you do both? Because I think
I think it's tough.
if I had to go for like, I don't know, 2 months,
Mm.
I think I wouldn't want to do over 3 months. Because I
Mm.
am starting to feel like I want to like really settle
Mm-hmm.
for now and like get comfy and yeah, build like my profile here because I can feel recently it's starting to like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how to describe, but I can just feel that energy around me of like
It's just growing.
people are aware of who I am when I'm in the
Mm.
right space. So I kind of want to keep building on that. But maybe like 1 or 2 months away isn't gonna like kill everything.
No, no, no. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, I think like that's honestly one of the best things about modeling is
Mm.
the ability to travel, right?
Mm, mm, mm.
Like, I don't think there's any other job unless you're like a remote software developer or something where you can just kind of be like, ah, that place looks cool.
True,
Okay,
true,
find a
true.
contract. I'm going, right?
True.
Like, I think it's really rare, right? So
Mm-mm.
like anytime you kind of have those opportunities, I'm always like, yeah, go do it, go do it,
True,
go do
true,
it, go
true.
do it. But at the same time, like I get that idea of wanting to build up
Mm.
because I think also that's something that's super important, right? It's like there's always a market that's gonna be like your number one,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm, mm.
And like maybe that's Korea for you.
Mm.
Because I mean, even before we got you on the platform, I had already seen like your profile starting to pop up,
Mm.
like as I mentioned, right?
Mm,
Like,
mm, mm,
oh my gosh, who's that in that editorial?
mm.
Who's that in
Mm.
that editorial? These photos look like phenomenal. No,
Thank
no,
you.
really, like, I'm, I'm, I'm a little envious at one point because I think those kind of jobs are the most fun
Mm.
because commercial is really about money, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm jealous of too.
But the thing is, there's no freedom of expression.
Mm.
Like you're really, really confined by like, like I don't know, like, oh guys, happy, like,
Ah, true.
like this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I really wish I had some cool clothes
Mm.
and I can like play with like how my body movement is
Yeah.
or like work with the photographer, like those kind of things.
Mm, mm, mm. True.
Do you think like the relationship between model and photographer is really, really important
Oh,
during those kind
definitely.
of
Yeah, I feel like in general, like you need the space to feel really comfortable, like right
Mm.
away. So like usually as soon as I go to set, if the vibe feels really just like everyone's awkward and like doesn't know what to say to each other. I'm a very introverted person, but in that moment it's like I know if everyone is like this and not like laughing and like talking to each other all the time, I'm not gonna be able to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So then I'll just go in and be like crazy at like 6 a.m. and just like like slightly delirious from like no sleep, but just try to like build
pick the
that.
energy up.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
just be able to like vibe with the photographer, even if you can't fully understand each other. Just like be able to like bounce off each other and like, yeah, that's I think maybe most important actually. Like always energy on set is like top. Doesn't matter how good the team is.
Yeah.
If you're not vibing and there's like not that like mutual connection, there's always gonna be like some awkwardness and it comes through.
Yeah, of course. Like, do you listen to like a specific kind of like playlist when you're at like this kind of shooting or this kind of shooting or this kind of shooting? Because I know a lot of models, the first thing is like, where's the Bluetooth? Where's the aux? Let me get my music on there.
I think depends. It's like for certain concepts, like say if they want something that has like a really strong like raw emotion, I can't be having like party music.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think depends. Most of the time I can just get along with like generic like I think one time I was shooting and I just saw like H&M playlist on the screen. I was like, I mean, if this is what it is, I can deal with it. But yeah, I think usually it's more like on the way. Like once I switch my personality on, I think I can kind of get away with it, unless it's like extreme like on the extreme ends of like what I need to convey. Yeah, usually it's just like, I don't even know what genre it would be. Just high BPM, like on the way, just like stomping down the street. And then once I arrive, it's good.
So like this term you go back to, like flipping the switch. Do you think that's something like a model can develop, or it's like you just have that natural ability to get in that moment and like that zone?
I think you can develop it, but I think there has to be a little bit of that side already in you. Like I think I'm supposed to be an extrovert, but I'm just like too anxious.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like my personality is very like all over the place, but then I'm just like anxious in like busy situations and stuff. So it's like as soon as the door's closed and it's like a safe environment without strangers or just like the public everywhere, it's like, it feels like if I'm comfortable, even just a little bit with the people around, I can then come
Be
out.
yourself, like
Yeah,
start
yeah,
to
yeah.
express. That's cool. Do you find like outside of maybe like being like with friends or home, like the photo set or like studio is like your safe place?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, because I think I can show also different parts. Because yeah, like I was saying, I love really like not like super conceptual maybe visually, but just like where there is like a narrative and like a story. I feel like it's really like important for me, like, and it can help you also like process things that maybe you haven't been thinking about or like tapping into. Because I think especially in Korea, like, how to say, like, you can get to know people well, but there's always that kind of like, people don't want to emotionally burden each other, even if they're like quite close. So you can open up to a certain degree, but like, it's difficult to have that person where it's like, let me cry on your shoulder kind of thing. And I think sometimes like you can kind of, even if it's not like super like you have to like cry on set or something, you can like tap into like a different aspect of like your emotions that maybe you've been like holding in a little bit.
Have you ever had like a concept like that where they were like, I need you bawling your eyes out, or like?
Not really, but just I've had like, I want you to look like deep in thought and like there's like some hardship, like some pain. And then I'm just like, okay, switch on the waterworks.
Wow, that's cool. Like, do you find like a majority of your jobs now are in the role of like playing a character for like an editorial or a runway, or now you're finding more commercial work as like you're starting to build your reputation here in Korea, or is it still more of the latter on the creative side?
I think like now it's getting to be a good mix of both. So like, and also I think it's kind of becoming my approach to modeling as a whole, because every show I did this past season, when I was speaking with the designers, like I was kind of trying to get a vibe of like, who is the person they're designing for? And then it almost became like a collaboration of like figuring out like, okay, who am I gonna like be and perform as for like the show? Because yeah, so like I did 4 shows, and each one of them, when I look at it, it feels like a different person.
Oh, that's cool.
Like the entire like persona, the way like even just like the small movements change, and like kind of conveying a different like energy or different like, I don't know. You know, like when you can just see someone and the aesthetic, you can like be like, they had this kind of job and like maybe this thing happened in their life and da 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 da. Like kind of trying to like portray that through movement. So I think even though I've started to do more commercial things, it's kind of becoming like a natural habit for me almost.
I mean, I think that's a great point. Like something I talked about with, I can't remember who it was, but it's like knowing your client, right? Like I think that's more valuable than like what you're actually capable of sometimes, because I mean, the reality of modeling is you're never going to get every job.
True.
But like you really need to fight for the ones where you even have like that small window of opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's like in your case, like knowing like this designer is like building clothes for this kind of person or this consumer, like how can I put myself in a way that's going to make me stand out from everybody else? Like,
Yeah.
it's really, really smart. but I don't think a lot of people take it that deep, right?
Because I think there's like two types of models.
Mm.
There's the ones who are genetically blessed and like they do it for the money and like to have like a job because it's can be like relatively good income depending, and then obviously to like feed the ego. And then there's like the other side of like kind of it is all performance and like kind of the people that like deep dive into like fashion history and like are very like involved in the creative side. So I think it just depends where you come from. I don't think one of them is like good or bad, but just there's like two different types of models, and then I think how they approach it is kind of different.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Like, I mean, even like, I have a lot of friends back home that are like really into art, culture, like the depths of history into like specific designers, and I'm just like, wow, like you aren't doing nothing with fashion, but you need to find like your avenue in, because like this is like your world. And like a really good friend of mine back home, like I think he could kill as a model. He's got a great look. And I was always like, go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it. But I think some people are scared to just kind of like
True. And then if
dip
they're
their
too
toe in.
scared and then they take the photo and you just see like the fear in their eyes and then they're traumatized and don't want to do it again.
Have you ever had like a really like negative experience like on a photo studio or set? Like
Oh no, wait, I can't talk about that.
okay, never mind.
Yeah, I've had one that was really bad. I think the only times like I've had where it's uncomfortable or like negative experience is more just like it's like a very specific kind of thing because like being trans and a model, and it's happened a lot more since I've been in Korea just because of the like lack of knowledge. It's like being put in like I think there was one show I did. At first they wanted me to go to like the men's like dressing room, and I was like, I don't care personally. Like in Europe or like the States or whatever, like people just change in front of each other for shows. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But here it's like super segregated. So like I personally don't mind, but it doesn't make sense to have me like change with a bunch of Korean guys who are all going to be like scared to see my body because it's like not what should be in like their space. So then I mentioned about it, and then they also wouldn't let me change with the girls. So then I just had to go into like this weird like solo space, and I could hear everyone like, you know, just like hyping each other up, like ready to do the show. And I'm just in this like weird box behind a curtain. And I was like, I feel like an alien, like a weird like science like project or something being like kept away. And I've had it a few times where like my clothes are in like the wrong dressing room, but then most of the time if I just say like, oh yeah, it needs to go here, then they'll just move it and it's fine. But that was like the one time where I was like, this is going a little step too far, like putting me in a weird little box.
Do you feel like that culture is changing here?
I think
like in a more positive, like progressive, like understanding way? Or do you think, because I know like in Asian culture generally is a little more closed-minded than maybe Europe, but do you feel like it's heading in the right way? Or
I think so. Like I get asked a lot if like I've become stressed like living in Asia because it's like more like conservative. But actually I feel like it's kind of same because there's like, how to say, there's like not as much sorry.
No. I just wanted to make sure that it was recorded.
I'm like, also my posture is so bad.
No. Okay.
So like, how to say, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, like the difference.
Culture shift, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the only problems I've had in Korea is to do with lack of knowledge and never with like hateful intent. Whereas like in London, it's like people have at least some knowledge. Some people are uneducated, but it's like if they support you, they'll be loud about it. If they don't support you, they'll also be very loud about it. Where I think here it's more like keep your opinion to yourself, and also like they just don't have the knowledge. So it's even if they do something, say something that's like incorrect or like could be seen as offensive, it's like, you know, it's not from a place of trying to hurt you. So it's like you
it's
can
just misunderstanding.
Yeah, you can easily just be like, oh, actually no, like da da da, and then it's fixed.
Mm. So like, would that ever like prohibit you from going somewhere because like you know that maybe like this culture is really like detrimental to like my mental state or like this or
Mm,
that, like even I know some people are like, okay, I don't want to go to do contract in China just because
mm,
like, you know, it's this, and if I don't do these things, like I'm in trouble.
mm.
And like that can also play on like your mental state,
Yeah,
right?
I think for me it's um, maybe like Middle East,
Mm.
because I did have an option once in Dubai, but like I don't know if you know who Gigi Gorgeous is.
No.
She's like an OG like famous YouTuber, and she's also trans, but she should have done her research first. But like it's technically illegal, like completely illegal to be trans in like Dubai. So as soon as she arrived off the plane, she just got took into jail.
What?
And then like she's married to a Getty, so they had the money to like save her and get her out. But even when I was coming here, like all the transfer flights was in like I forget exactly which country. I think some was transferring in Dubai, and then there was some other countries that also where it was like illegal. So I was like, I don't even want to risk it. I don't want to like transfer flights. So I just,
But why would they even allow you to get the visa or
I think because you
do?
don't need visa.
Ah.
Yeah. But then when I was coming to Korea, it was like I didn't even want to exchange in the airport because I was
Mm.
like, I just don't want to risk it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
of course.
100% sure. So just forked out double the money for direct flight. Yeah.
Dang, that's so crazy. I never realized like that's like a real issue or like
Mm,
problem that like could occur. Yeah, sorry. I'm just like a little bit shocked
mm,
that like that's a thing. Like
yeah.
I know like some models have like their countries may not be like even so like I spent a lot of time in China,
Mm,
and like there was a lot of times like I was really unsure about taking connection flights or going through there because sometimes the political situation
mm.
is like really unsettling. But that's like the closest I've maybe ever experienced or had friends that experienced like that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like that's really, really, really shocking. Um, Going forward, like, do you feel you want to pursue modeling for the sake of just developing like this acting career, or like you have a real deeper passion for fashion? Like, I know some models are like, you know, like didn't really find myself in fashion the way that maybe somebody did. Like, I
Mm,
love this designer and I love clothes and I love everything within that world. But now that I'm here, now I want to go launch my own brand. I want to
uh,
like get into that avenue that I didn't even know existed.
mm.
Like, do you ever see yourself?
Kind of. I think like I'm quite lucky to be someone that naturally has like a very good like sense when it
Mm.
comes to fashion. Because sorry. Um, so I have thought like I would be really good in a design team. I wouldn't
Mm.
want my own brand, but like I would be good working in a design team. But it's whether I would get the same satisfaction afterwards.
In what way?
Like I feel like there's only so much you can put like. I mean, one example is because I do like illustration.
Oh, cool.
There's only so much you can put onto a canvas.
Mm.
Like sometimes it doesn't feel like enough. Like I feel like I need to use like my like physical vessel to like
Mm.
convey something. Even if someone else can't read it, it's like channeling like that like emotional energy in like a like physical way. It's like feels really cathartic.
Mm.
So yeah, like I could see myself doing really well in a team, but I would still have to have some kind of like outlet, like performance wise.
Mm.
Yeah.
What about like performance art? Have you ever thought of like seeing
I've
yourself
been
going that way?
considering it
No,
recently,
really?
but I just don't know where to start.
Mm.
Yeah. 'Cause I did one show during Fashion Week, Pots.
Is that the one where you're starting in the chair?
Like
Yeah, no,
this.
no, 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 no. It's really cool. Really, really
Yeah.
cool.
Because I think I heard the music once
Mm.
and they was just kind of like, oh yeah, we just feel like you can do it. So I heard the music once before the show and then it was like, okay, go. So I
Oh,
just like,
so that's how they selected you?
yeah. So
Like
like they
they
just,
weren't like, hey, like, do you want to do this thing? They were just like,
mm,
you're
Yeah, because
Oh,
I
wow.
shot that lookbook maybe a week before
Mm.
the casting.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, if they don't cast me for this, I'm gonna be so annoyed because I just did that lookbook. But it was all fine. And then, yeah, one of the like directing team came over to me and was like, "You're number one, and you're doing a performance." And I was like, "What? Okay." But then, yeah, I think like I said, I heard the music once, and then was showtime.
Mm.
So then I just walked out in the dark and like sat on the chair and was like just trying to like tune in and do something. But then because I was wearing neoprene, you can't even really move that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, there was something in that like moment that felt very like I want to find a way to do this more. Because like walking can kind of be the same, depending,
I think
but
it's
it's not
very
quite
different.
as
Yeah. It's not as involved, right? Like,
mm.
I, I mean, walking, I think on a show can be very difficult. Like, like just walking in the straight line and holding your angles, everything is not as easy as people think.
Yeah.
But I think that's like a few levels above that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it did feel like just like kind of, it felt like an extension of it more. Like I couldn't get the same feeling from just walking, but like kind of the adrenaline and like trying to be like that like character that I've made kind of for the show almost, like taking that to like a higher level felt really, really good. So I wasn't fully satisfied with it in the end because I wasn't 100% on the timing. So I was just trying to like listen out for like the signals of like when to kind of stop.
Yeah.
So I think I was actually like midway through doing what I thought I should do. And then I'm like, oh wait, no, it's silent. Crap, what do I do? Yeah, so I'm not fully satisfied, but I feel like that experience really like sparked something in me where I'm like, I need to do more of this.
But I think you'll get that opportunity because I think, I mean, especially recently, like fashion shows are becoming more and more and more of like a performance.
We're going back to the 90s, and I love it.
Like I think that opportunity is gonna come up like a lot more than maybe 3 or 4 years ago, right? Like I don't know, the shows now I watch, some of them are a little too much. Like I never can bash the creative artist for like what they thought was right.
But like if it's just not in your taste, then it's not in your taste.
Yeah, like I think it was. I'm not hating on the brand, but do you know AV? Like the one they did.
I think I feel the same as you.
With like the
yeah.
Like I felt like something like that was borderlining on not a gimmick, but more just like
it like overshadows like the collection. It doesn't enhance it. It's kind of becoming like the performance and like the whole fiasco of it is
to
like
create
what
like a
sticks.
viral moment, right?
Yeah. Which at the end of the day, it's not completely about selling the clothes because a lot of brands, the like runway clothes don't go into production. It's more just to sell accessories, but still you want some attention to like the clothes, not just like all the trash on the floor kind of thing.
But don't you feel like those kind of shows are occur more in like European market or like New York or something like that?
I think it's after like TikTok has become such like a mainstream thing for like all generations, not just like the youth. Because it is that like virality just suddenly gets people interested, like especially Gen Z humor, and just like the TikTok algorithm is very like absurdist. Like so something that is kind of like extreme and like you can just see it out of context, like what is this like chaos that's happening? Suddenly people get really into it. So I think it seems to be a marketing strategy from a lot of younger brands in Europe these days.
But you don't find like that kind of thing is going to happen in Asia? Or?
I hope not. I mean,
but I mean, from the perspective of like I really like if I'm you and like I really enjoy like this kind of performance art in the blend of fashion.
I mean,
I want to go somewhere where I have that opportunity.
It's more. I do think like the shows here need to be a little bit more exciting, but there's like a boundary. It's like the difference between like camp and trash, or like I don't know how to gate like I don't want to like gatekeep it or like sound elitist, but there has to be some level of refinement, and sometimes I feel like those kind of shows can just feel messy. Like what is it, Sune? like the one with the little like paddle things. So there was, I think it was Sine. They had the models walking out, and then all the guests had paddles to like kind of put a number up to vote like how
Oh, for
much
the
they liked
show?
the look.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
like that I thought was kind of interesting because it wasn't distracting actually from what's happening. It was just giving
Ah,
both people like a chance to participate, but then still keeping like the models visible.
this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
Like it's not my favorite, but I can like from an artistic like point of view, I can appreciate it.
mm.
But like some of the more like chaotic stuff, mm,
Do you
no.
have a favorite show from last Fashion Week?
I think same as everyone. Mashallah. Yeah. And Mugla was quite good.
Mm.
Yeah. I think not as good as the previous season, but
Mm.
Mugla show was good.
Do you think there are any like rising stars within like the in terms of like design and their ability to construct clothes that are on the level of European fashion houses or European designers?
Like in Korea.
Yeah. In Korea.
I think there is some.
Mm.
Like the main market feels very like same, but
Mhm.
like say BLR for example,
Mm.
like whenever I like make friends with designers or people who work in brands, I'm always very like interested in how they actually like make the clothes just
Mm.
because I studied fashion before. So whenever I speak to Bongsok, like the head of there, like they put so much work into the textiles
Mm.
and like you can really see it. Whereas like a lot of other brands, it's like the textiles look kind of interesting, but you can also see that it's just like bought. And sometimes
Mhm.
I'll ask like the designer like, oh, how did you like do this and like get this texture or blah, blah, blah. And they're like, we just bought it on the roll. And I'm like,
Mm.
yeah. So I think BLR is one. I can't think of others off the top of my head because I saw Bongsok recently. So it's like fresh in my mind.
No. That's just I'm
Mm.
just curious, like if you think
But
because
I think it's difficult for them though.
yeah.
The market here is like very like the trend cycle is kind of what rules everything here.
Mm.
So I think you'll see the same stuff from like a brand as you would in like the Gangnam Underground Mall kind of thing
Mm.
sometimes. Like the cycle feels really like same everywhere. So the
Yeah.
people that are really pushing like their own like narrative or aesthetic, I think it's hard for them to get a customer and keep it long term.
Mm-hmm.
Because also a lot of consumers don't care about garment construction and like
Mhm.
brand ethos and da 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 da. So yeah, I kind of feel bad for them because
Mm.
they're in a like place like
A bubble.
they're in like a bubble and like in a country that doesn't necessarily value that side of fashion so much.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself like following trends or like you're like how can I say it? Like not like following what's hottest, but like living here, I think it's really hard to not be like, like you become your environment.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think like even the area in which you live in Seoul can really dictate like how you might dress or
True.
express yourself. Like
I think I have become a lot more, for lack of a better word, normie looking.
okay.
Yeah, like I think to a
What do
lot
you
of
mean normie?
like because I used to always like I don't know be so colorful and like stack different colored wigs on my head and like do really abstract makeup and just for like casual daily life. Like sometimes I would spend like 4 hours doing my makeup just to go to the supermarket just because I felt like it. But here,
All black.
no, not all black, but almost neutral, gray. Yeah, and I can feel I've started even my mindset actually. I was having a conversation with my friend and he wanted to buy some new jeans and I think he was looking at some JW jeans that was
okay.
bright red.
Oh wow, cool.
You say, oh, wow, cool. For some reason, in that moment, it was so out of the ordinary for me. I was like, are you sure you want red pants? People are going to look at them. And I was like, wait, what the hell? Because I'm so used to everyone just wearing black. And then, like, I think I've worn red trousers before. And then one of the managers at my agency was like, are you sure you want to wear those to the event? And I was like, yeah,
really?
they're red pants. They're cute.
Yeah.
And she's just, okay. Yeah, so I feel like it's starting to like seep in when I do like hear something or just like visual osmosis, like getting so used to seeing the full black and like kind of business casual almost vibe sometimes.
See, now I'm starting to think like, because I'm in the same lane now. Like, I
Mm,
used to wear really loud, colorful stuff, and now it's all like super tonal, like
mm.
dark green, black, grays, like these kind of things. But do you think that's also maybe just like the development of like your fashion taste or?
I think partially,
Mm.
but I think also like it's just like as a whole, like even silhouette wise, I feel a lot more
Mm.
like calm. There's not really that
Mm.
much like jutting out or like, yeah, I feel like I've started to become less expressive when I dress. Whereas like before it was like there was a
Really?
bit more intention in everything, whereas
Mm.
now it's like a bit more like comfort but still look put together. Whereas like before it used to be a lot more like trying to get like who am I going to be today? Like let's have fun
Mm.
because it really does like your image changes how you interact with everything.
Yeah.
So like before I was really just like in that world building space, whereas now I'm like I'm always sticking out. So sometimes I just want to feel a little bit more blended in.
Mm.
Whereas in London, especially in like my friendship bubble there, it was all like creative. So everyone just looked wild all day, every day.
Mm. That's cool.
Yeah, it was, I kind of miss it a little
Mm.
bit. Mm.
But don't you feel like in general people here are more willing to express themselves with like what they wear as opposed to like European or maybe not European, but like maybe I'm too westernized that I feel like back home
Mm.
people are maybe like 1% as willing to wear something more out there than they are here. Like color, it
Kind
can be
of.
colorful, right? Like anything.
Kind of.
Uh,
I feel like in my mind, more with men,
mm,
but I think it's more just kind of the like Western idea of masculinity versus like Eastern idea.
mm,
Because I think people here, it's not necessarily like they're dressing crazy, but to Western people, it looks really like over the top because they like actually pay attention to their grooming. Whereas
mm.
like a lot of Western guys, it's just like weird baggy shorts and like an ugly like stained t-shirt kind of vibe. And like no shade, like if they want to wear that, it's fine. But it's yeah, I think it's more just extremes.
Mm.
So I think there's like the people that really don't care, and then the people that go all out. And then in Korea, I think the general population all cares about their appearance
Oh my
more.
gosh, so much.
But then the people that are really like going out there, like, is probably also just in the like
Mm.
0.01% kind of thing. So yeah. Mm.
I mean, I don't know if you feel the same, but like Seoul is the one place I feel like it's the only place I can't wear just like my pajamas or like sweatpants to go to the store.
Oh no, I do that all the time.
Oh, see,
But
like
I feel like I have to stop.
I do it, but like I feel because like I live in Gangnam,
Oh yeah, if
so
I
like
lived in Gangnam, no.
it's like every time I go out to the store or like I'm just going to get like I don't know something from Trinidad or whatever,
Mm.
everybody's like every single hair is
But that's
perfect.
because it's
Like
permed like that.
no, but like not every single person has like perfect hair, perfect
Mm.
makeup, perfect outfit, like everything, and I'm just like maybe I shouldn't have
Yeah.
worn
I
this.
think for me, it's like if I'm just going to the Pyeongjam, there's
Mm,
like two, like less than like 2 minutes like each way from where I live. I can quickly go outside and
mm,
just like hoodie and sweatpants, but I will be cap on incognito. No one can see
mm.
me. But most of the time, yeah, I don't feel like I can run errands
Mm.
looking like lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's also nice because like it kind of pushes some people to maybe put a little bit more effort into their
Mm.
appearance versus like they would normally.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, how can I express this? Like, like as we talked like before off camera, like
Mm.
I think people aren't really as aware of how important fashion is to their daily life, even
Yeah.
though they're just like, oh, I'm gonna go to Gap and buy this pants and this
Mm, mm,
shirt or
mm.
whatever, right? But like at some level, you're still making those choices to express yourself through
Yeah.
clothing, which I think is super, super cool and really
Mm.
important. Um, I have a question, like what you think about like obviously some schools in London have like, you know, the mandatory, what do you call it? Uniform.
Mm-mm-mm.
But back in Canada, we didn't really have that at
Oh,
all.
really?
So like, I know here it's pretty much everywhere, right? Like
Mm-mm-mm.
every school you have to wear the same clothes every day, like even down to the shoes
Mm.
sometimes. Like, do you think like that's detrimental to like the younger generation coming into fashion that, you know, maybe they don't really care as much anymore because they're so accustomed to just outfit A,
I think
outfit
the
A.
opposite.
Oh, really?
I feel like most people who are interested in fashion usually
Mm.
have a, like that creative aspect to them anyway.
Mm.
So like constantly being repressed and
Mm.
forced into that like uniformity, I think like can push people to like be more expressive and creative when they get the opportunity.
Mm.
Kind of like when people talk about just artists in general when it comes to money, like rich artists versus like poor artists,
Mm.
like you can get some really, really interesting things out of people with less money because they don't have all the resources. So they kind of like have to find a way.
Yeah.
So like, I guess kind of like dressing, if you're always having to wear the same thing, those opportunities where you get to try something else, you go
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because I remember in school, we wasn't allowed to dye our hair,
Mm.
but I think we
Really?
had like,
Why?
I don't know,
Oh.
but we had one school trip. So it was like, and I think it was in the middle of the week,
Mm.
but the night before, I went and bought hair bleach and like hair color,
Mm.
bleached and dyed my hair for that one day off. Bought this like horrible, like really ugly, like super big, like hot pink t-shirt with like sunglasses on it. It was really horrible.
Mm.
But at the time I thought it was great. And then before I came back the next day after the school trip, I had to like dye my hair back to natural, but didn't work. It turned green. But like I tried. So like I think that kind of thing, it's like if you really want to try something, I think when you're compressed, you'll go like all the way when you get the chance,
Yeah.
which I think is kind of good. It's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Mm.
I think like, I mean, the thing is too, modeling can be very restrictive.
Mm.
You know, like I don't think people really realize that too, because like you might see some viral photo of like some influencer model or like
Mm-mm.
really, really high profile model that can basically do whatever they want with their look because the brands are always going to come. The
Yeah.
brand deals are always going to come. You know, like they just have that notoriety. But like in the bottom 90%, like I feel like you're really restricted on like, you know, I have to be this size, I have to have this color hair, it has
Mm.
to be this length, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So like now that I'm thinking about it, what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me
Mm.
because now I'm not doing modeling so much, but as soon as I made that decision, I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of want to like bleach my hair and do leopard print or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
really, really crazy.
Mm.
So like, yeah, I never thought about it that way, but it's really interesting that you put it that way. Do you think there's like anything? Because we're started getting to the end of how much time the stuff can manage, like the SDs, but do you feel that there's any changes that need to start happening within the fashion and modeling space like right now?
Oh, I don't know.
Mm.
Because I know like lots of people have like really strong opinions about like super, super, super like inclusivity.
Mm.
But controversially at Brave, I feel like modeling is kind of could be seen from my perspective as like a sport.
Okay.
So you know how everyone can play football and it can be your hobby. Doesn't mean you're going to play in the World Cup. And like just because you're not in that team doesn't take away the fact you can play football.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's people who like naturally we have like it's like built in like biology like of what we find attractive because a lot of it comes back to like health indicators and like like weird genetic stuff. I'm very into like morphology of like bodies.
Oh, cool.
So I think but it's usually it's not like beautiful or ugly, it's just a different message that it puts across. But a lot of people read into it as like this is beautiful and this is bad. But actually most beautiful people are average. Most beautiful people would never be models.
Yeah.
Because the beauty, like the thing that makes something beautiful scientifically is like just being the easiest thing to look at. So like everything is like perfectly averaged.
Symmetrical.
Yeah, and like all the proportions are exactly what it should be, but like models have to be on that extreme side to create an emotion when you look at them. Because otherwise like you just look straight past it. So I think there really should be like more inclusivity in like lots of ways, but I think people are obsessed with it going to like an extreme of just anyone and everyone can be a model. But it's like there has to be a reason, something about you that sticks out, and also skill set of like being able to do something on camera.
But then what do you feel about like the commercial market? So like it's kind of segmented into fashion and commercial, right? Like I think personally, I think anybody and everybody can find something within commercial market.
Oh, definitely.
But it's so then like how do you justify like who is able to be in that commercial market or not, right? Because like the range of like what's
That's
accepted
true,
is
actually.
so broad, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense actually. I think maybe because I'm always in like the more like high fashion side, I don't really think too much about commercial. Because usually like when I see pretty people and they ask me if they could be a model, usually if I don't think they have like high fashion face, I'm just, yeah, I think you could probably do commercial. I think most people could. So I don't know. And also, yeah, I don't know. I don't
So
know where
then
the boundary is.
what do you think are the so I shouldn't ask you the question on where the boundary is, but so where do you think what do you think draws a line between being in fashion and being in commercial? Because obviously there's some things like what size suit you wear, what size bottoms you wear, how tall you are, you know, like measurements play a really big part into fitting into sample sizing. But like in terms of like physical appearance, like what do you think are those like points that okay, you can start working in higher fashion? Or
I think something needs to be off balance. So, you know, like before when I was saying to you, like, there's like quite often I will describe people as ugly, but not in like a bad way. Because there needs to be something just usually facially, because like, I guess sample size is always going to be like smaller than most and taller. But there needs to be something that feels like off kilter, that like pulls you in. So like commercial models, I think, have to have that relatability, but high fashion has to have that like aspirational aspect.
But it can never be like quantified down into like a point, right? Like it's always going to be subjective.
It's like a lot of people like hating on Anya Taylor-Joy's eye spacing. To me, that's like perfect. The further apart someone's eyes are, the better. I love it. I love goldfish people. Yeah. So I think it's just if there's something interesting on their face that makes you kind of be like, that feels a bit like it's in the wrong place, but it draws you in more, I think that's kind of when it starts to get into that high fashion feeling.
So then like, would you say to like, let's say models that are generally more fit into this commercial market, that they're never going to have those opportunities to cross over into like higher fashion?
I think there's probably some chances depending, because I think also like most people and their like most people's faces, like they don't necessarily fall 100% into one category. But I think, yeah, I think there's possibility if you're like tall enough. Unless it's for editorial and then you can be any height. But it's really hard because the lines are so blurry. Like modeling, there isn't really like a specific like criteria of XYZ. Like some agencies have their preferred measurements, so blah, blah, blah. But then most of them aren't so strict with it. And yeah, I think
it's really tough,
it's
right?
really hard. So like, I don't know what I would want to change, because I do think there's just so much opportunities for everyone. And I think it's more like there's only so much we can do from the inside, not from the inside, like from this side. So it's more, if you really want to do it and feel passionate about it, it's like find your lane and like push for that. Because yeah, like I said, I'm never going to be doing like casual like little soft girl campaign like commercial things. It's never going to happen. I mean, maybe, never say never, but yeah, I think rather than focusing on trying to change things, I think it's more focus on what opportunities you can have.
Okay, I have two more questions, and then we can wrap because we're getting to the edge of what the card's gonna read. How do you feel about like new technology coming and shaping the industry? So like AI generative models.
Oh, that I think is just weird. I don't really think I have any emotions about it at all.
But like, do you have any like fear that one day this will be like the dominant for like producing advertisements?
I don't think so. I think even if monetarily this like ends up getting to a point where there's not really a difference of like using a model or like AI for like the brands like to make money wise, like if they're both equally profitable, I think the people who work in those like teams to like produce that stuff will always value that collaborative process, because I think so much more to like making a campaign, like so much more of it is about like that process to get to it rather than just the outcome. Yeah.
What about like for e-commerce platforms like an Essence or like a Farfetch, you know, where they have who knows how many pieces coming in that they need to put online, like I don't know, 30, 40,000 SKUs every season.
Have you done those jobs?
I have done like e-commerce that way.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
It's horrible, right? Just
like yeah.
Change.
Yeah. And you're doing like tens or hundreds of outfits every day.
Yeah.
But like I think those kind of modeling jobs that aren't like there's not really much emotion within like the final photos that are coming out, those kind of jobs will be replaced. But I'm with you that I think campaigns and editorials or even some prints and lookbooks, there's always like some kind of emotional connection from the designer or the creative director or something that will never get pushed away.
Yeah.
But I also am concerned that like I think like AI or the ability to generate these images that are super, super realistic, like I'm sure within a year you'll never be able to tell like
that's true.
What's what. They can create things that won't you can't find, right? Like you can't doesn't exist. Like they might have an idea of like the perfect face that just doesn't exist in real life.
True. But then I feel like we've probably already seen it a million times with like the Instagram face. I feel like because that perfect like mathematical face just becomes like basically Instagram face with probably a little bit less lip filler.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, so I feel like the perfect face would never be exciting. And I think a lot of the like the best images even sometimes come from like those in-between moments. Like I think it's usually right as you go into a pose or right as you come out of it, usually actually has the best, because it has that just little feeling of motion that like, I don't know, I think, but yeah, I have seen some AI stuff that feels too real and I don't like it, but it does still feel soulless.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how to describe. I think it's just like the mycelium or whatever it is. Like natural things can feel that like connection, but then when it's like not got the soul in it.
But do you ever feel like it'll get to that point where it's so good that maybe they're like adding in the imperfections to make people seeing the image think that it's real? Because I think it's really close.
I think it's possible, but I just don't want them to. I'm just trying to be hopeful that they can't, just so that like, you know, because even if I'm not modeling anymore, I still, I just like the creative arts as a whole. So I don't know. I feel like it's important that real people still do them.
Okay, so then I maybe this answered my last question already, but like, what's something you don't want to see change within fashion? Like, I know some people want to gatekeep certain things from other people, and
what
like,
I don't want to see change. Oh, I don't know. That's difficult. I feel like everything like kind of needs to keep changing. I think that's the only way for fashion to feel exciting. What I don't want to see change.
I mean, it can be like, I don't want to see like this involvement of technology take over the aspect of creating like real emotion in this scene.
But even I feel like that can have its place. Just I wouldn't want it to completely take over. Because I do know some photographers that sometimes like do work with like AI a little bit, and it's like, oh, it's interesting just to see what you can make.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want that to be the be all and end all. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like fashion and like art in general has to keep changing because
Evolving.
it's like people are constantly evolving, and it's a reflection of like a person's like mind or like society as a whole. So like fashion is as much a part of that as like painters or like sculptors, anything. So I feel like no, it just everything has to keep changing all the time, like constantly break the rules. Yeah.
I love that because I think a lot of maybe how do I say this? A lot of people within the industry that I've talked to in like the last year or so, like kind of venturing down the journey of Spotlight, they're really like, I don't want anything to change. I want things to stay exactly the way they are, and like this is how it's going to be forever. And I'm like, but that's there's already a ceiling, and we're at the top of the ceiling. Like, where can we go from here? Like,
Nowhere.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like even within like 1 year, I would get so bored and just have to start like deep diving backwards again. So yeah, no, keep changing everything, keep trying new things, always experiment.
I have one final question. I'm sorry. For people that want to get into this industry, like, what do you think is their first step? Like, how do I get into fashion, or how do I get into modeling?
I think first step is to not, how to say, I'm so bad at English. I've been here too long. My words are disappearing. I think you need to kind of figure out who you are and what your like kind of personality is, and also like your unique like qualities, like the things that make you stand out. And also I think most of it comes from building a really strong personal like not shell, but like being really assured of yourself before going into anything. Because like we were saying earlier, like 90% of like working as a model is just rejection.
Oh yeah.
But it's never personal. So it's like learn how to have like an objective mind and figure out what it is that you want to accentuate about yourself, what you feel confident in. And then if someone doesn't necessarily see that, you won't ever feel bad. Because I feel like most young and early models that I know just all feel like shit all the time. So I think even before starting, it's like trying to get in that headspace.
Like thick skin.
Yeah, because I used to take rejection so bad, whereas now I like have zero expectations in any casting, any like even if something's confirmed, I don't care if it actually follows through or not, because it's really just, it's never about you, and it's like just about what is the vibe for that specific thing. And also being very aware of how you present yourself in all spaces. Like not hyper aware to the point where you like hold back, but just you never know what opportunities come from strangers in the street or who's around. Because I think even whilst I've been in Korea, I've had a couple of jobs where later on I found out that the person who casted me for the job is because we lived in a similar area and they saw me in the street.
Wow.
Whereas like if they just saw my comp card, they kind of just look past, but it's like, oh no, I've seen her and just the vibe is really cool kind of thing.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of also a good point of like having to dress up in Korea instead of wearing sweatpants. Because yeah, I think just how you carry yourself in like daily life, or like when you meet someone new, or like that kind of thing, it's like, because even the CEO of my agency, we talk about it a lot. It's not just how you look, it's always the energy. Like you have to have that like self-assured energy and like show that there's like something more to you than just like the outside flesh. Because there's tons of beautiful people, thousands and thousands and thousands of models, but it's like the people who make it are the ones who can leave a lasting impression. So it's all just personal work first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Gigi, I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you again so much for giving us your time, your resources. yeah, I was really really looking forward to doing this podcast with you after you were like, yeah, Hojin told me it was so fun. I want to
Yeah.
come. I was like, yes. um, yeah, I hope we can have you back. Booking links and socials will all be in the description. We'll link Gigi's social so you can follow her and find all the amazing stuff that she's doing. And as always, please like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much, Gigi.
Thank you.